Here we go. And we are recording. Today we have another astrology study group, and we're kind of into talking about some of the aspect patterns. And I wanted to talk about them a little bit more, some of them a little bit more in depth, give you another angle, and really talk about one of the ones that we're experiencing now, because it is so in your face. And I want to kind of make some parallels with how hyper focused we are, because we're moving into a really tight pattern. We've noticed it. And if you haven't seen it, or if you're listening to this one for the first time, I'll show you in the astrology how we've changed just in this last month, and how it's narrowing, and then how we're going to use the moon as a trigger, how it's going to trigger different events. So without any further ado, I'm going to share my screen with you. And we'll go into this one first. Okay, that one. Okay, here's a real cool site called Astro Theme, a new approach to astrology. And there's a lot of different things that you can type into their search terms. But they have a pretty good library of different terms. And I thought I would just walk through some of this with you. So they give you the chart of today, and then here's what everything is today. The sun's at 22 Capricorn, the moon's at 16 Capricorn, where, that was at this time. But whenever the sun and the moon are together, that is what's called a new moon. That's when we have the dark moon. We have they're together in space. The way I remember it is, if the sun and moon are opposite, it's like, oh, they're opposite, then it's the full moon. And when they're together, it's the new moon, or no moon. New moon, no moon, dark moon. Kind of easy mental thoughts of making sure you can kind of associate astrology and astronomy at the same time. All right. Mercury is always real close to the sun, but it's ahead of the sun right now. It's going to be getting ready to go into its retrograde soon. It's going to retrograde into Aquarius. We'll talk about that soon. But it's always one sign either side of the sun, or the same sign as the sun. So here we go. It's right. It's leading the pack. Well, you can see it down there, but I'll show it to you in a better chart in a minute. Venus is over there, lagging behind there in Capricorn. And we already know we have Pluto way back down in there, 24 Capricorn. So, excuse me. So we have a real tight still a little tight Capricorn cluster, but that's widening, because the two of the bad guys that were there in it, Jupiter and Saturn, all last year, have now moved into Aquarius. You can see that they're at early degrees. Jupiter is a faster moving planet, so it's at 5 degrees. Moves about 2.5 times as fast as Saturn, so it passed it. And we have Saturn here at almost 3 degrees Aquarius. Uranus is here at 6 degrees Taurus, and it's retrograde. It's about ready to turn direct. Neptune here at 18 Pisces, and I skipped Mars. Mars is over here at 2 degrees Taurus. All right, I want you to think, keep in your mind when you're looking at astrology, one thing that'll make everything easier. We got to always go back to the basics. Look and keep in mind numbers. What numbers are same, and then you'll know the aspects immediately if you think in back to your terms. Like if you see something that is cardinal or fixed, cardinal or fixed or mutable. If anything's in 2 cardinal signs, they're going to be square opposition, or conjunct, of course, if it's the same sign. But if it's in fixed signs, things are in the fixed signs, just kind of iron those in. And then, or mutable signs. Those 3 will give you the hard aspects, the squares and the oppositions. Anything that's the same element, you think, oh, that's easy. All the water ones, or all the air ones, or all the fire ones, those are all going to be trine. They're all going to be good, the same 120 degrees away from the next one. All right. So that in mind, just kind of keep that in your mind. And then in your quiet study times of astrology, just iron those out, that that, because then it's easy to pick up. So what's happening now, we're getting a real tight pattern in these fixed signs, and I'll show it to you, but I want you to note in the back of your head, where do you have fixed signs, if you have any, in your chart? Or are there things in the fixed houses? Okay, so cardinal, fixed, mutable. So cardinal, Aries, natural ruler of the first house. Taurus, fixed, natural ruler of the second house. And then the next one would be, Gemini, mutable, third house, on and on. So your second house there, that's just one of them. I'm just pointing that one out. That would be, do you have planets in that? If you have nothing in fixed signs, but say you got things in fixed houses, that counts too. So if you have planets in second house, the fifth house, the eighth house, or the 11th house, a lot of things there, they would also be aspecting by the events that's coming up now. Now and soon and now. All right. So that being said, we'll move on from that. And this, I have this called up to talk about these aspect patterns. And I just wanted to give you, this is kind of nice. I'm gonna maybe move myself out of here. Move this. There we go. Okay. Okay. The splash pattern, paradoxically very rare, displays planets fairly regularly scattered around the zodiac. Its opposite is easily identified as the bundle or wedge, and we'll look at these, with all the planets gathered in approximately 120 degrees. So that's really tight. The bowl, with all the planets positioned in a single hemisphere. It's a little bit more. The bowl is not as tight as the bundle or wedge. Bundle, wedge, the same thing, just different words for it. And then there's the bucket or funnel. I've heard this called the fan. So we have all the planets positioned in one part of the zodiac, with the exception of one planet. Or a conjunction of planets on the opposite side and isolated. So what we're going to be experiencing now is we're going to be kind of going from this bundle wedge to a bucket, because we're going to have the moon breaking out before any of the other planets start to widen out. And then that tight pattern will widen out. So you'll see how these patterns form with the way the planets line up when they do their dance around the sun. The seesaw, with two stellium completely separated from each other, but coexisting with each other. A stellium is two or more planets conjunct, sitting right next to each other, very close. So we have a few on one side and a few or group on the other. The locomotive, which is actually a chart with all the planets gathered on a large part of the zodiac, quite contrary to the bundle, and where there's an empty space of 120 degrees. The tripod, which is resembling the seesaw, but with a planet or conjunction of planets clearly separated from the other two groups. Its influence makes the seesaw keep changing from side to side depending on the planets involved. So this tripod could create a T-square, or it could be just dependent on how they are, or it could make it could pull it depending on where it is, how tight it is. It could be a grand trine too. Okay, the fan, similar to the bundle with planets very tight gathered, but with a planet or a conjunction of planets on the opposite side. Same, another name. And then let's not forget to mention the unclassifiable patterns of the asymmetric type, with the planets unequally spread and no clear shape. All right, so let's look at this. We're going to look at these a little bit more in depth, and then we'll look at now. So the splash, as indicated by its name, this planetary pattern displays an even scattering of the 10 planets throughout the zodiac from Mercury to Pluto and the luminaries, sun and moon. There is a continuity in the planets' distribution. The maximum distance between any two planets is 3 signs or 90 degrees apart. Contrary to what one may believe, paradoxically enough, this pattern is one of the rarest. It heralds a potential for varied centers of interest. The native can shift from one field to another with flexibility and relevance, with the capacity to land on their feet in any given situation. It is as if this pattern inferred a Mercury dominant effect, since Mercury is well known for being a real chameleon. When a natal chart is already marked by a Mercury dominant, this influence is even more strengthened. As we are broaching the dominant sign topic, it is obvious that Geminis must be mentioned since they are known for their natural capacity to hop from one subject to another. Okay, examples of splash celebrities with splash. Who is this? Romaine, I don't know this lady, some French actress. But see how the planets are all around, and then it said that it has to have a distance of 90 degrees. So here she must have that from here to here. The moon maybe over to Mars. Okay. Okay, so we're looking at aspect patterns. We're looking at the aspect patterns here. We're looking at the splash pattern, and we're seeing that this is all the way around on this one. And here was that distance that it said was, here we go. Where did we put it? The maximum distance between any two planets is of 3 signs or 90 degrees. That's the maximum. It doesn't have to be. It could be less than that. Okay, so here between like Mars and the moon, that's and then here Mars and Saturn. It looks like it's about a sextile apart, but I can't see the degrees well enough. But anyway, you get the idea that they're all the way around. All right, here's another guy. I don't know who this person is. Okay, the next one, which we're going to look at how this is now. This the bundle or the wedge. This planetary pattern is the opposite of the previous one. All the planets are gathered in a small portion of the zodiac, measuring 140 degrees at the maximum. With such a concentration of energies in the same area, the native is likely to be a specialist in the fields indicated by the houses that are most tended by the bundle. It's like where they're all at. If they're in the first, second, and third house, it's all going to be about that person, their stuff, and their communications. If it's over in like 7th, 8th, 9th, it's going to be about your partner, your guys's business, your money, and maybe branching out into society or something. That might be the wife. I'm just picking up something. Just like the wife of a doctor who runs the front desk. He's the doctor and everything, but she's promoting him by maybe being 7th, 8th, 9th house altogether, something like that. So her interest would be theirs, 7th house, and then nothing really of hers. It's him, and then she runs front desk, their stuff, 8th house, and then maybe they have, I don't know, maybe it's a new age type procedures or something, and 9th house kind of stuff. So it would be that would be that one woman's or something. I'm just giving you something like how you could pick something like that out. All right. Although the native talents and assets are truly unique, powerful, and specialized in other areas of life, he or she is likely to be lost, rejected, and marginalized. The happy conclusion for the owner of this chart is to live their passion without fear, because it is the only way for them to achieve harmony and fulfillment. The direct confrontation with other types of experience which are unsuitable for them would only result in enduring inhibitions. So if you got somebody that has a real tight bundle, and I have a couple of patients that they're married, and they both have this chart. So they're mirroring this type of chart to each other, and it's a very volatile, explosive, kind of crazy relationship, because they're both have this huge empty space here. Yeah, and then people that get these, when transits tend to happen to them, it goes for like a long time, years. So you can imagine, like something like Pluto or something going over this, it would be years, it may be their whole life, that Pluto would be ding, 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 going all the way around this, if it happened to be that way when they were born. Or say they come into an say something like Uranus starts to transit all these planets. It's going to disrupt all of these areas one at a time. So this is an interesting chart to be born into, because you get that, again, tight bundle of specialization, and don't try to be a knower about everything. This is the one that has to specialize. But this is what's going to be all about, that specialization, and no reality whatsoever about the other side chart. This is what we're moving into now, but we'll see some fun things with this. Look at this one. Here's somebody else. This one's even tighter. I've seen one that's like, oh gosh, this guy has, I think everything is within 60 degrees. He's got no squares, of course, no oppositions, no trines, just conjunctions, and then nothing. Okay, the locomotive. In this planetary pattern, all the planets are gathered in a portion measuring a maximum of 100 or 240 degrees. So it's like the whole zodiac minus 4 signs, minus one quadrant or one little section. But that's the one that's going to kind of bite you. All right, in this pattern, possibly the most frequent one of the asymmetric charts, 2 planets are emphasized. The planet leading the locomotive in the natural order of the signs, it's the one that's counterclockwise, or I'll show it to you, it's the planet that rises after the empty space. Hold on to that thought, I'll show you. Okay, so it's that planet which plays the role of the leader and somehow pulls the personality. Its assessment is carried out according to the sign, of course, and the houses where it's positioned. So if you've got, like, I think they might even say it here, let me just read it, yeah. The other emphasized planet is the last planet of the locomotive, or the trailing one. Its energy is expressed in a less powerful and more passive ways. It's the Caboose Planet. The native's energy is potentially more intense here than in the splash pattern, but the empty part may bring about problems. The evolution challenge is to try to fully integrate the weak areas in order to benefit from the additional strength provided by the concentration of energy, particularly by the leading planet, instead of undergoing its drawbacks. If we were to make an analogy with a sign, Aries would best fit the locomotive pattern with its strong personality that is subject to the goal of the moment, but that could also shift from high energy to deep despondency, but always for a short time. All right, so here's like a locomotive pattern. Let me see if the other one looks better, easy to see. Yeah, this one is easier for you to see. All right, so here's all these planets going all the way around. So here's the empty space. So the first planet after the empty space is your is that key planet. What do they call it? The locomotive, or the key planet of the locomotive. With this one would be Jupiter. This is pulling the whole crew. And then the moon would be the caboose on this person. All right, so this is a powerful person if they learn to channel this energy. And that this empty space, maybe they can seek a partner that can share this side. This would be good for this person. To find somebody that maybe has a lot of planets in what you don't have. That's where astrology is so wonderful. And if this person had a nice astrologer to advise them through life, they would tell them that. It's like, go find some Capricorn and Pisces and Aries friends or something, you know, some Aquarius friends to give you some points of view from the other side there. Okay. The bowl, all the planets are gathered within a hemisphere, half of it, or bowl, 180 degrees, or a wide half of the circle with a maximum of up to 190. Okay, so they're just a hair past the half. That's it. So, whoa, that's interesting now. So now you're taking up half, you know, okay, where the one before was 3/4. The locomotive was 3/4 of the chart, right? It said it can go up to like 240 degrees, you know, the max. So that could be, you know, a group of signs here, nothing. Excuse me. All right. So this is half of the chart. So the bowl now is half the chart. And it's interesting to know where the bowl is. Is the bowl on the top half? So it's kind of like a covering. Is it the bottom half? Is it the left or the right half? So there again would show you where the emphasis in life was. Back to the analogy of like the doctor's wife being the office manager. She might have a bowl pattern from, you know, the 7th to the 12th house. Maybe there's a lot of esoteric truths in part of her business too, coming over the 12th house. But that would be, again, the 7th house husband, 8th house, their stuff together. She's running, you know, the office part. It could even be 6th house of work. You know, I mean, I'm just trying to give you kind of how that would be. See, and this would be nothing about her. Nothing in her 1st, 2nd, 3rd house, 4th house. It'd be like, it's just, I'm here helping my husband. I'm the office manager here, or I'm just running the stuff, but it's his business and his thing, or You know what I'm saying? It's not all about her. It's about him or the cause, the clinic, you know, something like that. Okay. The native, frequently found, the native usually has very characteristic and marked features as he is deeply aware of his assets. The concentration of planets in a single hemisphere, half of the chart, may yield an abundance of energy, although less than that provided by the bundle or wedge pattern. Nonetheless, there is an acute awareness that the other half of the bowl is missing. Most often, the native wants to make up for this lack, symbolized by the central part of the void, the empty part of the bowl opposite to the tenanted part. Tenanted, those are like tenants. Like the locomotive pattern, the principle of leading planet and cannonball, that's a good way to put it, it's the cannonball planet, is also found here, although it is expressed less strongly. The peculiarities of the bowl pattern are quite varied, and its consequences on the native's personality can be classified into 8 categories, depending on the orientation of the bowl, right? Remember, if I was saying which way it is. So it could be, if it were lined up totally one way or the other, or any tangent. That's just what that's saying. The interpretation depends on the hemisphere and quadrants about the meaning. So let's see. Yeah, okay, it could be with the focus at the bottom of the chart would indicate rich and prevailing inner life that is not very visible from the outside. If it's up on the top, it heralds a destiny with many achievements, you know, on the career, most likely a remarkable or public one. If it's all on the east side, on the the rising sign side, it suggests that the character is strong and uncompromising. The native does not pay too much attention to what others may think and moves ahead according to his nature. If it's all on the other side, indicates that other people are always of utmost importance and play an essential role in native decision-taking process. There's your office manager lady, I said. So to interpret the last 4 combination patterns, if necessary, pair it off. So if they were now skewed a little bit, you'd have to take in a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but you get the idea. All right, so here's a bowl. You can see it's like just about 180 degrees. They're all kind of tight over here. Remember, now, when things spread out to this bowl, they're aware of what's missing, okay? Okay, the interpretation of hemispheres requires caution as to, okay, wait. Okay, don't worry about that one. Is that all that here I'm gonna give you? Okay, the bucket or funnel. This is quite frequent pattern, like in the preceding one. All the planets are gathered in one hemisphere within a maximum of like 190 degrees apart, but the only difference is there's one planet or a conjunction of planets that is opposite from the main group. A minimum distance of 30 degrees and preferably of 60 degrees must separate any planet or conjunction from the main group. Okay, it is this bucket pattern as in the bowl. So the concentration of energy is also very high with a leading planet and a trailing planet. Always take in the natural order signs, Aries, Taurus, Pisces, whatever. The concentrated energy is released through the isolated planet known as the apex, that one alone, right? It's like all the way over there. So it's going to have that, you know, us in me and them kind of thing to it. Okay, so that channels the entire dynamism, how does that word say? Dynamism of the chart and constitutes the native's privileged focal point. Its meaning depends on the usual factors such as what sign, house, dignities. If it's in a conflicting house, it may be beat up, or if it's in a strong house, it will, you know, be good. Its meaning, okay, rulerships. The energy available here is more powerful than in the bowl pattern, and if the native chooses his assets properly, he will gain many more means than the native who has a bowl pattern. All right. So here we got this one. Look at, you can see all the way around here. And then we've got Jupiter is the oddball planet over here. So all this concentration here against big old Jupiter. So this would be just an interesting person here. Okay, the seesaw. In this pattern, the planets are split up into 2 distinct groups that are separated by at least 2 signs, a sextile, 60 degrees. There must be a minimum of 2 planets opposing each other, one from each group, so that the said groups face each other. Okay, seesaw patterns are extremely rare. As a matter of fact, the native is constantly torn between one group or the other. Now, doesn't this sound like a fun lifetime? The personality is characterized by a duality that is quite difficult to solve in the beginning because the decision-making process is necessarily tainted by hesitancy, and striking a balance proves quite grueling. Can you imagine if this stuff were in Libra? That person would be even more fretting. In most cases, as the native matures, the integration of the two separated parts is achieved gradually and more easily if Saturn is strong. Ultimately, the seesaw pattern offers the rich fullness of the two opposite and complementary ends of the personality. This person could then again be, very well versed in seeing both sides of an issue. They could be very balanced. They may be a very good arbitrator. If we were to make an analogy with the sign, Libra would best fit the seesaw pattern. That's what I was saying. As with its irresolute personality, it's concerned about choosing between a compromise, and one of the two possibilities corresponds to the two ends of the seesaw. All right, so here we go. Look at that. So here we have 2 or 3 planets opposing a whole bunch of others. Now this kind of thing, again, like I was telling you with the bowl pattern or the other one, when we get transiting planets starting to go over all of these, this could really suck, and suck worse, because not only are they hitting on each of these, like if you have something conjuncting, bang, 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 then it's going to be opposing these. So this makes for some really turbulent times with some people when aspects, so again, transiting Uranus, which is the planet of disruption, it's going to disrupt their energy. It's going to disrupt their way they, I'm looking at this person here, death, rebirth, or, like the Pluto type stuff. It's going to, when it conjuncts Neptune over here, it's going to make them confused, and then it's going to oppose Saturn at the same time and be hard and limiting, and then it's, so I was like, oh my goodness, this would be one of those transits. These would be transits for years, when people just go through shit for a long time, 20 years or so. This is some of the stuff that could happen. So, but I don't want to paint it as a doomsday, because there's always the good side of things. It's going to integrate things. It's going to make you see stuff. Something conjuncting is like right there next to you. You smell it, you taste it, you rub it, you know what that is. And then if it's opposite, you get to see that opposite side. And evolved soul, that's the whole thing. None of this is good or bad. You just have to take it in stride. You might maybe you have a part of your life where, again, it's really busy, and then maybe things are done, and then you have nothing, and just nothing for a while. Everything's just maybe an occasional moon, of course, sun going around, but Mercury, but the outer planets maybe have skipped over all that, or maybe it's done. So interesting, that pattern. Okay, what's left on this? There's a couple more I wanted to tripod. The fan, I want to go over this one here because it's similar to the bucket. In that the difference of the fan and what do we call it? The bucket, is that it's a tighter group. All right, so the pattern is usually bucket. It's actually what the difference of the cluster of the planets that has a higher concentration. Okay, in the bucket pattern, the width of the cluster was, like we said, like up to 190 degrees, or even saying here 200. Whereas the fan only allows a width of 120 to 140. It's a tighter. So the fan is actually, well, we're going to kind of come into both, but I want you to see this. So actually the fan is a bundle pattern with an isolated planet. It's a tighter bundle. Tighter bundle. There we go. That's all it is. It's a tighter bundle. Okay, the duality between the isolated element and the cluster is so strong that it is very understandable that the isolated element takes an importance that is even stronger than in the bucket pattern, because it's even tighter. So it's like the group is more wound up and more tighter together. So the apex, that isolated planet, becomes not only the point through which the native can channel the energy provided by the cluster, but it is also a tool. It seems that as the apex becomes the dominant of the cluster, it also becomes an integral part. This sort of pattern is strongly characterized. It is relatively rare and usually translates into outstanding personalities or destinies, especially if the southern hemisphere is very highlighted. All right, here's a fan pattern. Here we go. So see how tight this is? There's nice tight grouping here. And then we have this one breakout planet way over there. All right, asymmetrical type, we said that they could be just anywhere, nothing, there's no real pattern on that. Okay. All right, so that's what I want to show you on that. Now I want to go over and show you the charts. Everybody good? I think your bundle. Yeah, so we can review this, and if we can look at these. We can look at these, maybe talk about them next time. We can get some questions on these patterns. Now I'm going to share again, and we'll look at charts. How are we doing on time? Good. Got halfway. All right. So here's today, and you can see. Now I want you to ignore this little thing here. This is the moon node. This is not a planet. So I have it on because I use it and I didn't want to take it off and then put it back on, but just ignore it. So it is not a planet. And you will see right now, this is now, and you can see how tight this stuff is. It is, see, we have 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, 210, almost 240. It probably is. It's probably about 240 degrees empty space here. And I want to direct your attention to the top of the chart. We have we said we are almost in a new moon right now. I mean, it's within hours or so. I ran this morning, this one. So the moon has moved more by now. It's closer to actually being exact. So when the moon and the sun are together, when they're conjunct, that is a new moon. When they're opposite, that's a full moon. Think opposite, opposite full. When they're together, it's the same. And that's when, the moon is eclipsing it and you can't see it. And that's what makes it dark. All right, so they're just within, it's almost time that they're exact. So moon is now going to be passing this. So tomorrow, the moon is going to be, or later, it's going to be going over Pluto. So we're going to have that aspect of the moon passing the sun and then passing over Pluto. So, moon Pluto is like power trips. The moon is like emotional, and then Pluto is manipulation and power. So that's kind of maybe the late day energy of what we got going on now. But anyway, I don't want to trip off into that, but that's just a side point. So the moon moves every 2.5 days. It moves into a new sign. So it takes about 2.5 days to go through the whole sign. So you can kind of see how it's going to go with this next little while. Now check this out. Venus is going to be bringing up the rear, and it's about 1 degree a day. So it's going to be moving and moving. And then, the sun is going to be moving out of Capricorn. And in about a week, it's going to go into Aquarius. And then the moon is going to move on, and then this is going to get even tighter. So let's check this out. If I can do it in the right order. Let's look at, okay, let's look at the 116. Okay, so this is going ahead till Saturday. I was trying to find out what day it was. Okay, to Saturday. Okay, so look at the moon has moved. We got it's past. Today's Tuesday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's going to be going through this sign, and half a day Fridays. So like here Friday, and then Saturday, it's going to be into Pisces here, and here we still are looking at Venus here. It's going to be a few days here, a couple weeks or so before Venus moves on. But look how tight this bundle is now. And then look over here on the other side, this Uranus at 6 degrees. This is making the other end. And the moon will go past it, and then it'll break out, and then we'll see it become a fan. So let's look at that. Now, let me just give your attention something here. A couple days ago, well, let's see. We just said that the moon right now is in Capricorn. And it's tomorrow or late tonight. I have to look at the exact time. For the next 2.5 days, this is Tuesday. So we go like Wednesday and Thursday, the moon is going to be going through Aquarius. So it's going to be conjuncting these planets, and it's going to be squaring these over here, look at the fixed signs. So we have Mars and Uranus in the fixed sign of Taurus. So the moon is going to be making squares here and conjuncts here. And if you have anything here in your chart that is Aquarius, it's going to be conjuncting that. If you have anything at Taurus, it'll be squaring those issues with you. If you have anything at Leo, it's going to be opposing your Leo things. And if you have anything at Scorpio, it's going to be squaring anything Scorpio that's happening. Okay, so just kind of note how you are doing in some of this as well. So keep in mind right now the fixed signs. This is where the action is right now. Last year, we had a lot of the cardinal signs with all this stuff there in Capricorn. We're starting to change that now. Okay, so here's this is Saturday. Let's move on. Now let's go to the 21st, next Thursday, and let's check this out. Okay, now Venus has moved to 16 degrees. It's getting a little closer to making a conjunction to Pluto. Ew, Venus conjunct Pluto. That's going to be like a controlling, feminine issue there when that actually is on there. Restrictive or controls on money, controls on feel-good things you like. It's not going to be a fun day. It's not going to be too far after this. All right. So let's keep looking here. Now the moon has gone through, it's a few more days ahead. And now it actually on the 20th, it actually went into Taurus. So you can see on the 21st, it's working its way through Taurus and it's going to be making more squares. So on the 20th, expect some more squares, challenges, because it's going to be opposed, it's going to be squaring all this Uranus stuff. It's going to be opposing. See, we have here Uranus, Mars, and the moon are all going to be opposing, taking turns. Sun, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, as it moves on through. Now, Uranus won't square all that quickly because it moves slowly. It just went direct. Look at you. It's been retrograde, and then I forgot to point that out to you. I think I showed you on another one of the charts back there that it's retrograde now, so it goes direct, and it's here at 6 degrees. Mars has just moved ahead at 7, so now Mars is starting to break out. Look, Mars just went ahead though. This is interesting. So we have some interesting dynamics coming in on next week on the 20th and 21st. And we know how important days those are. That's the day that, inauguration. And we don't know what's happening on that. And it'll be interesting to look back at this podcast after the fact, because we're all on our pins and needles. The whole world is on, this is a nail biter for sure, because this is not really about Trump, Biden. This is representative of a whole change of authority, of government, of restrictions, of censorship, and we all know this stuff to be true, and we can see the astrology. Now, just to give you heads up, it's going to be a very interesting week and a very unusual. We don't know what's going to happen. Because of this Uranus element, this Uranus and Mars. Energy to be explosive, energy Mars energy is drive and energy and movement, and that's the engine behind stuff. And Uranus is unpredictable. So we have this day here at the 20th to 21st. We have Mars going right over Uranus, the moon going over all of those. Actually, let me see if I can, let me give you another, let me do the day before, add new natal. Let's do transits, let's say 01, I want to do 2021. Okay, and then let's just change this date to the 20th. And let's just see how much the moon is at that day. Done. All right. Look, yeah. Oh, wait, did it not do it? No, why did it do the 16th? I don't know what it did. Let me add a new one. No, crap. Bear with me. To do 2021. Come on. I don't know why it didn't do it. Okay, there's January 20th. Come on, done. Oh, it wants, okay, well, no, it wants. I know that, I'm sorry. Bear with me. I have worked this program before. I didn't realize it didn't put the place in there. All right. It wouldn't do it because I didn't have place. I thought it would carry it over. I didn't even look. Come on. Okay. Geez, that was hard. Okay. All that. Okay. All right, here we're looking here at the moon. Okay, so here the moon, look at it's at 1 degree, and Mars is like it just, at this time at like 5 in the afternoon, Mars just passed it. Look at 6 degrees, 44, 46 minutes. If I would have done it a half hour earlier, it would have been right on it. But late in the day, on the 20th, Mars is going to start passing the moon. I mean, Uranus, it's already passed the moon, but I mean, and then the moon is going to gain speed, and then it's going to pass over all of that. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to play out, but all of these are going to be making squares to all of this over here. So we have moon, Uranus, Mars. We have emotions, the tower card, or upset, or out of the blue, and we have drive, energy, martial things, violence, however you want to say it. We got good and bad side of all these signs, making hard aspects to Sun, the giver of life, Saturn, hard lessons, Jupiter, large things, large groups, large things, people, and then Mercury, communications. So this is going to be a very, very, very odd day. I predict it. Interesting day from like the 20th, probably late 19th, because the moon is going to be coming in aspect like on the 19th. But don't forget, the moon will be in Aries here right before that, and it will be over there squaring Pluto before this whole thing kicks off. And then remember, then pretty soon we'll have Venus up and going over Pluto. All right, but let's move on. I have to show you this in this consecutive order so you can see kind of how things are going to roll out. Okay, so we are on that one, the 20th. I showed you the 21st. Let's move into is it this one? It's hard to see. I think this is February. Yeah, the 1st of February now. All right, so this is barely then like okay, so I'm showing you the 21st. So it's a little over a week later, 9 days, 10 days later. And Venus has just gone over Pluto. So look, it's at 0 degrees. So it would probably have been maybe around the 27th or so of the month, and then it had gone over that. I didn't do it all. I don't want to show you each little thing. So to help keep this class a little shorter, because we're getting close now. But okay, look, it's already passed. So like at the end of the month, Venus will go over Pluto, and that's going to be, it's like hard transitions or stuff you don't like, or change of money, currency, redo. I mean, just look at the adjectives. Just go look up adjectives Pluto, look up adjectives Venus, and then imagine them being in the same elevator together for a little while, or riding, on a plane together, sitting right next to each other. Okay. Now the moon is now broke out. Look, finally. Okay, it's like it moved. We can go next at the end of the month. The moon will have gone over here, and it will go in through Gemini. It will have then gone into Cancer. Moon will be in there, and it will make an opposition over here to Pluto. So we got that to look forward to. And then we get a little reprieve. It goes over, get out of the way, into Leo. But then, no, I shouldn't say reprieve. It's just going to be something different. So then it's going to go, you're going to get the square. We're going to get the opposition from the moon being over here, all over to Pluto. And then when it goes into Leo, it's going to oppose. When would that be? it would be just a few days before this. So the end of the month, the very end of January, we have a couple of other weird things happening. We got that Venus moving over Pluto, and then we have the moon in Leo. When the moon is in Leo, it's going to be opposing all of this crap and squaring all of this. I shouldn't say all that crap, but it's this cluster of you just know that we're going to have some stuff going on. We got some big oppositions then. So the moon, emotions, is going to then be opposing. Now Venus has gone over and it's going to be in the Aquarius sign. So we have the moon and Venus opposition, the moon and Saturn opposition, and then the moon goes and opposes something big here, you know, Jupiter, and then it goes and opposes the sun, and then it opposes Mercury, and then a few days later it'll oppose, you know, we're going to get confusion when it finally, like here, when, well, before here, when it actually opposes Jupiter. So this is going to be another weird time at the very end of the month. And then it's here, look at breaking out by itself. It's stress. This, we're going to see the emotions stressed. People are going to be wrung out like an old dirty old rag. You know, it's going to be just, eh. And while the moon's doing that to all these up here, it's going to be squaring, again, that planet of disruption, and then the planet of energy or martial or violence or initiative. It's kind of hard to see how it's going to play out, but you can see that it's not going to be like nice and secure and happy. And then with all this stuff up there in Aquarius, there's going to be a lot of ideas and a lot of fixed ideas. Okay, here's February 1st. Let's move on. We're almost done. Let's just widen it out a little bit here. Now let's go to March, middle of March. I'm just widening them out a little bit. Okay, see now the pattern is getting a little wider, but see the moon is looped around again, but it's widened out a little. Now we've got Mars, the leading the pack. Again, ignore this, the moon node, but Mars is now leading the pack, but we've tightened it up over here. So we kind of stay with the same bundle, right? See, so we had Venus, which was over here, and then we had Mars, it was back over here, but they've moved, they kind of moved, and then we still have this tight pattern. So we're still in this fixed, I mean, this very concentrated energy. So what does this mean in society? When all these energies are concentrated, people are going to be focused on like one thing. I mean, you know, our attention is going to be pretty focused on just certain things in life right now. And it's going to be a bit before it widens back out. Let's go to the end of March. Okay. Now we got the moon. See, the moon's going to come around and it's going to be the wild card in all of these things. As this pattern starts to widen out a little bit more, the moon is going to be the thing, the trigger that's going to be going around when it hits these certain the players up here. It's going to be the trigger. Okay, so here we have, again, the end of March. Let's move on. And let's go a few months ahead now. Let's go to into the end of June. And now the pattern has widened quite a bit. See, we had the stuff now. We had Mars before over here in Gemini, you know, it moved out through Taurus. So it's moved through Gemini. The sun, of course, is now in the summer, you know, here we got it in Cancer. And Venus and Mars are starting to do a nice conjunction in Leo. Oh, this is going to be nice. See, Venus is going to catch up. This is the lovers in the sky. So we do have a bit of a reprieve coming in June and July. It's nice when Venus and Mars are conjunct. And see, now we're widening out. What do we got here? So now we're getting closer to, we're almost into a locomotive pattern. Look at this moves just a little bit more, you know, see, because the end here is Pluto. Pluto is going to be the end. It's not going to move. So everything else is going to be moving wider and wider in relation to Pluto. So as we move on through the year, you can see now that the sun and Mercury are going to be moving wider. Let me show you a couple more. Let me just do that so you can see this. I think it's one thing me talking about it and another thing you actually seeing it. Let's do it for, let's do that. Let's do a September. Let's do 9. It's my mom's birthday, 2021, just for something. All right, let's do September 20th. Oh, 2021, and then I got to give it place. It doesn't carry over. I'm not looking at all that. And I type this in. All right. All right, now let's look at the pattern. Now look at this. Hallelujah. It's widened out. Look at here. What do we got? You know, I have to really add it all up. You know, we're getting maybe I don't know, maybe a splash or maybe a splay pattern. So look, it's widened way out. Look at the sun now, of course, is way over in Virgo, and look at Mars is now in Libra. Mars has gone from down here, you know, being like right now, it's gone from being in Taurus to, you know, it's like halfway around the chart now almost, you know, it's moved. Well, it was just moved out of Aries, so it's moved halfway around the chart. It's over here in Libra. Of course, we have these things here in Aquarius. They're going to be here, and you know, look at Pluto went retrograde, so now it's back at 24 degrees. It's, you know, it's not going to. It's going to be just right there. But look at the rest of the chart, how it's just widened out. Now we got this is still here. It's moved Uranus, but it's moved. It just went direct. So we're going to, like 6 months later, it just went direct at 6 degrees, and now it's retrograde. It's probably close. Probably just went there, and it's only went 8 degrees before it's retrograde. But look how wide the pattern now finally got. So I say, as we get on, you know, we're going to have a tough winter and spring. There's going to be a lot of squares, a lot of resistance, a lot of, you know, a lot of different things that we're all going to face as we move forward in time. What else did I want to share with you? Oh yeah, just the fact how we can watch these charts. You know, we can look at these and we can see, like right now, how we have such a tight chart, and how the moon is going to be our singlet. You know, our what do you want to call it? The here we go. Here's my little thing. The moon is going to be the one planet that's going to, here we go, that's going to be the breakout. There we go. So as we have all these nice things right now, we're kind of bundled up. You just see it. There we go. We're all sort of bundled. There we go. And then the moon will be our real breakout planet. And then we're going to start getting them moving, and, you know, then they'll all start spreading out again. There, around. So I want you to see how these patterns, you know, as we have these dance around the suns, how they'll do certain things, you know, and they line up and they'll create these little patterns. So you don't have to know exactly this means that, this in here. I really want you just to be aware of these patterns. So when you look at your chart, you look at other people's chart, just kind of look at these patterns and just, you know, get your mind about that. And then where are they? If you know the time, you can see a little bit more. If you don't know the time, then you still have the pattern. A bucket is a bucket is a bucket, no matter if you know the time or not. If you know the time, it'll just tell you where it's at and what parts of life are highlighted by that pattern. But the pattern is still there, and that's what's cool. So you don't even have to know somebody's time. You can just run their chart without it. You just run it at any time if you don't know it, and you can still get the idea of that pattern. You can see, is that person a specialist? Are they a jack of all trades? Are they into, you know, they have that opposite thing going on? You know, what is it that's going on? And there's so many cool patterns. There's so many little neat patterns. Like there's the mystic, what is it? The mystic rectangle. There's the grand trine, you know, you got stuff that's all trine, you know, the same elements. You've got, you know, the grand square or the T square. You've got the yod. These are some other ones that, you know, we're going to go over in the next few weeks, just some other patterns. The mystic cross, or the mystic, what is it? The mystic star, where it's like a Star of David. Everything is sextile, everything else. Yeah, so interesting things in time and space, that when these planetary patterns line up, they're mathematical anomalies. They're mathematical positions that tell you certain things. And I think it's a beautiful dance to watch and to try to understand. So I'm going to end it here. I'm getting close to the end. Unless you guys have questions, you know, if you want any questions, unmute yourself or ask. Or next time have questions on your own chart. We can look at some of those if you want. But just pay attention to what we're experiencing in the world right now, because this is kind of unprecedented. We're not going to really see this for a long time, I hope. This tight of a pattern and these poignant things. And then again, when the moon is hitting on those squares, when the moon is in any of the square, like each month or for the next few months, when it's in any of the fixed signs, put a little bell in your head to just kind of like chill that day, or feel extra mellow or kind to yourself, or a little shot before work or something. So you're like, oh, okay, I'm just kidding, but something to just take the edges off, the sharp edges off. Okay, I guess that's it for today. So aspect patterns. So spread the word, astrology study group. Please subscribe, hit the little subscribe and like, and spread those links. I have a couple specials going on, and pay attention this week. It's going to be a rock and roll one. So till next time, bye y'all.